Lethal Company is one of the most fun multiplayer games you can play. There's no tutorial or super advanced system. You can die from fall damage and your friends will laugh. The graphics look like 2008, the animations are janky, and the UI barely exists. And it's not just fun. It's viral. Millions of players, hundreds of streamers, everyone's played it. And somehow, it's better than a lot of AAA games. But the real question is, why it works and what it secretly teaches us about game design. Because what it lacks in polish, it nails in design. The core loop is stupidly simple. Go to a planet, collect junk, and escape without dying. That's it. It sounds dumb, and it is, but it's also brilliant. The moment that ramp drops, you're already in the loop. There's no waiting around, no checklist, just go do stuff. There's no quest log, no map, no progression system with 5 tabs. You just play. And somehow that is more engaging than most AAA games I've played this year. The systems are so bare bones that you have to create the structure. Who goes left, who checks the loot, who watches the time. It's a co-op game disguised as a test in how well you and your friends can pretend you have a plan. You will mess up, and that's kind of the point. There's no perfect strategy. It's just barely survive and hope that monster stops chasing you. And honestly, that's what makes it feel alive. There's no real punishment for failure, but it feels like everything's on the line, because you're not just losing credits, you're letting your whole team down. That emotional risks make the loop hit way harder. And because the loop is so simple, replayability doesn't come from content, it comes from people. Your squad is your replayability. One round, you're the hero. The next, you're bait. The third, you're dancing on your friend's corpse while they fell down a pit again. The game doesn't try to be cinematic. It gives you space to make moments. Every run feels different, not because the game changed, but because you did. That's what makes it addicting. You finish a run and immediately say, okay, one more. Not because you want to win, but because this time the chaos might be even funnier. Meanwhile, in AAA games, I can't even open a door without having to watch a 3-minute cutscene. First you need to talk to the quest giver, who sends you to someone else, who sends you to a cave where you have to fight 5 identical enemies, just to unlock the ability to open that door. Then you equip 6 perks, compare loot stats, and watch your gear score go up by 0.4. And by then, you've already forgotten what the door was for. There's systems on top of systems, skill trees, perk modifiers, crafting mechanics, factions with their own currencies, games that look like Excel spreadsheets but with particle effects. And look, I like deep games, but there's a difference between depth and bloat. And a lot of big games, they confuse the two. Lethal Company doesn't give you much. That's why it works, because the second you land, the story isn't told, it happens around you. It trusts that your dumbest friend sprinting into a monster is more entertaining than any scripted questline. And you know what? It's right. Chaos comes from simplicity. The game barely tells you anything. That's what makes it amazing. There's no proper tutorial, no explanation of how anything works, no blinking go here objective. It just drops you in and says good luck. At first it feels like jank, but give it 5 minutes and the jank becomes the fun. You're not following a path, you're reacting, panicking, improvising. Because when nothing is explained, every mistake becomes a story and every failure becomes content. Chaos isn't designed in, it emerges from the gaps, from the uncertainty, the confusing, the fact that half your team doesn't even know what the monster looks like yet. It's not chaos for the sake of it, it's chaos with meaning, because you created it. No 2 runs are the same, and it's not because of the monsters, it's because of your friends. One person sneaking in like you're trespassing in Hitman, the other 2 are screaming like they've never used a flashlight before. Someone always sacrifices themselves for the team, even though no one asked them to, and for the rest of the night, they might be a legend. These moments aren't scripted, they're not achievements or unlockables, they're memories. Maybe the most memorable part of your run isn't the monster, it's when your friend starts dancing in a clown suit while the rest of you are being hunted. That dance, that wasn't designed, it just happened. And now it's the moment you'll bring up every time someone mentions this game. That's the beauty of sandbox unpredictability. The same thing that made both Minecraft and Garry's Mod timeless. When the systems are simple enough, the player becomes the content, and the game becomes a platform for stories. That kind don't need a narrator, because you were there. Roles form organically. Nobody picks a class. There's no tank, there's no medic, and no DPS. But 5 minutes in, your squad has already fallen into roles. One guy is barking orders like it's a tactical shooter. He's not the leader because the game said so, he's the leader because he yelled the loudest the first run. Another person is doing all the risky runs, sprinting in alone, grabbing the loot, getting chased, and dying dramatically, but loving it. Every team has that guy. No plan, no backup, just vibes and overconfidence. Then there's the Terminal Goblin, the one who immediately goes to the console and refuses to go more than 10 meters from the ship. They say they're coordinating the mission. Really, they're just too scared to go outside and touch grass. But weirdly, you start relying on them, because they do open doors. They do warn you when monsters are nearby. And when it all goes wrong, they're the ones spamming the horn, begging you to come back before liftoff. These roles just happen. You never talked about it, no one assigned you anything, but by the third mission, it's basically locked in. And then there's the comic relief. That one friend who dies in the dumbest way possible and somehow still becomes the MVP of the round. They're not helping, but somehow the run wouldn't be the same without them. They make it memorable, even if they're kind of the reason you are lost. It's like a co-op personality test. You don't choose your role, you just become it. In most games, you pick a role before you even start. You're a tank or a support, or a sniper who says you're cracked and then dies instantly. It's all set before the round begins. You know exactly what you're supposed to do. And if you don't, someone will absolutely remind you in voice chat. But in Lethal Company, there's no menu saying you're a leader now. There's no pop-up that says, congrats, you unlocked the guy who runs headfirst into death. Those roles just form, out of panic, out of improvisation. Class-based games are built around balance. Lethal Company is built around chaos. Everyone, someone surprises you. The loud guy panics and hides, the silent one pulls off a clutch save, and the clown suit guy becomes the last one standing. And let me tell you, that's not good. There's no pressure to play a role correctly, because there is no correct. There's just how you play. The game trusts the player. Lethal Company doesn't hold your hand. It hands you a shovel and says, good luck. There's no tutorial, no quest markers, no NPC telling you press F to interact. You learn by doing, or more often by failing. It forces communication. It forces teamwork. Because if you don't talk, someone's probably going to die. Or worse, someone will buy a shovel instead of a flashlight again. There's something beautiful about that first time you realize the terminal can open doors. And yeah, at times, it can be confusing, but that's why it's fun. You're not playing through someone else's plan, you're building your own. You get separated, you forget the extraction time, you lose track of where the monster is, and suddenly everything depends on whether your friend can find and open the door fast enough. That's not a mechanic, that's trust. Not between the player and the system, but between the players themselves. When things go wrong, it's not a bug, it's a story. And things go right, it actually feels earned. Because no one held your hand. Games used to respect your curiosity. They assumed you were smart enough to figure it out, or at least dumb enough to try again. Lethal Company nails that, because when you finally figure out how something works, or how badly it doesn't, it sticks with you. Not because it was designed to be memorable, but because you earned it. The rise of co-op chaos games. Lethal Company didn't blow up in a vacuum, but it did start something. It's part of this massive wave of chaotic co-op games that are absolutely thriving right now. These games aren't about min-maxing or perfect aim. They're about screaming in Discord, blaming your friends, and laughing when everything goes wrong. Just look at content warning. Same formula, low-res jank, goofy tools, and absolute mayhem with friends. In that one, you're literally trying to film the chaos, which just makes people act even dumber. And somehow that turns into the most fun you've had all week. Then there's Repo. You're a small little robot, collecting valuables in dangerous buildings while being chased by monsters. It's like Lethal Company, but a slightly different take. You'll lose not because of the monster, but because Dave tried to carry a piano through a 2-foot doorway and blocked everyone's exit. Peak is another one. Not horror, just you and your friends trying to climb a mountain. It's supposed to be wholesome, and then you accidentally shove your friend off a cliff. No combat or enemies, just gravity, physics, and your complete lack of coordination. It's the same core idea. Chaos plus simplicity equals unforgettable moments. They put you in a shared situation and give you just enough tools to mess up. And let the story write itself. You don't remember the graphics, you remember the moment when it all fell apart, and someone started beatboxing through the mic while being chased by a ghost. The rise of these games isn't an accident. It's a response to something we've lost. Playfulness. They don't care about realism or balance, they care about whether you and your friends are crying from laughter by the end of the session. And when they get it right, like Lethal Company did, it spreads like wildfire. Because it's not just fun. It's shareable. It's the kind of game that becomes content just by playing it. The bigger lesson for game developers. Here's what I keep thinking about. Lethal Company isn't polished. It's not deep. It's probably not even finished. But it works. Just a flashlight, a monster, and your dumbest friend. Because polish doesn't create memories. People do. The features don't have to be complex. They just have to create space. Space for chaos, space for teamwork, space for people to be people. And I used to think game design was all about building perfect systems. Balance charts, upgrade paths, tight loops. But games like this remind me that the best design is sometimes just letting go. No over-explaining. Just give players the tools they need and trust them to use them badly. When you over-design, you kill spontaneity. When you leave gaps, you get creativity. If done right, not every feature needs to be airtight. Not every mechanics needs 3 layers of complexity. Sometimes the mess is the magic. These weren't scripted. These weren't planned, but they're the reason people are still playing. So if you're building a game, don't just ask what can I add. Also ask what can I leave out, so players can fill in the rest. Lethal Company gave us a shovel and a monster, and somehow that's all we needed. The best multiplayer games aren't about mechanics, they're about moments. The moments where you all laugh so hard you forgot to breathe. The moments where everything goes wrong and that's what makes it right. And the more space you leave for the player, the more memorable those moments become. If your game's not working, maybe it's not about what you haven't added yet. Maybe it's about what you haven't left out. That's what Lethal Company gets right. It doesn't try to control the story, it just lets it happen. And somehow, that's where the magic is. If you want to see more, check out this video next.